I'm Clifton Warren, and welcome to the Top Producer Podcast. Growth volatility, the hidden risk. Most firms accept growth volatility as normal, but it's usually a structural problem that's often hidden in plain sight. In previous episodes, I've talked about the myth of the rainmaker and how reliance on individuals creates dependency. And when growth depends on individuals, you don't get consistency, you get variability. Well, this is what growth volatility looks like in practice. An uneven pipeline, unpredictable revenue, strong months followed by flat ones, peaks and troughs with, no steady build. And this is where most firms misdiagnose the issue. They're simply looking in the wrong places. On the surface, it looks like a market problem. It's been a slow quarter. Competition is increasing. Clients are holding back. And sometimes those things, might be true, but more often than not, what feels external is actually structural. Growth volatility is an architectural issue. It's not a market issue. Inconsistent growth is a design signal. It's feedback from your system telling you that something underneath isn't working. Something is wrong. You often hear this from leadership teams. We just can't get consistency. It just feels so uneven. And the honest answer is because the system isn't designed to produce it. Volatility isn't a lack of control. When growth is structured, you can see where it's coming from. You can influence it. You can manage it. And when it's not, you're reaching. You're trying to make up the ground. You're trying to build momentum. Always slightly behind the curve, or in some cases behind the 8-ball. So what happens next? Activity increases. You got to do more calls, more meetings, more pressure on the team. It feels like the right response. But, activity does not fix volatility. Better structure does. In fact, the more activity applied to a weak structure often amplifies the inconsistency and stresses out your producers because there's no underlying system to convert that activity into stable outcomes. Activity is not architecture. Strong growth architecture does the opposite. It smooths performance over time. It creates flow from market to opportunity to revenue. It's not perfectly, but predictably. And because stability is designed and not hoped for. And this leads to the next pattern. When firms experience this kind of volatility, they often try to solve the same way. They try to add more people. Now, in the next episode, I'm going to look at how talent becomes the default solution and why it rarely fixes the problem. But I'll leave you with this. If your growth is unpredictable, it's not bad luck. It is a design problem. I'm Clifton Warren. Thanks for listening.